Russia-Ukraine war, list of key events, Day 183 and Biden announces nearly $3 billion in U.S. military aid to Ukraine. Here are the key events from Thursday, August 25. Fighting. A Russian missile attack killed 22 civilians and set a passenger train on fire in eastern Ukraine on the country's Independence Day, according to officials in Kyiv. 2 employees of Ukraine's Russian-controlled Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant have been detained for passing information to Ukrainian authorities, Russia's National Guard said. There have been 473 verified attacks on healthcare facilities in Ukraine since Russia invaded 6 months ago, which have killed nearly 100 people, according to the World Health Organization. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said the slowing pace of Moscow's military campaign was deliberate and aimed at reducing civilian casualties. Ukraine has repeatedly accused Russian forces of war crimes and targeting civilians, charges Moscow rejects. Diplomacy. UN Chief Antonio Guterres called for an end to the war in Ukraine as the country marked the 31st anniversary of independence from the Soviet Union and 6 months since Russian forces invaded. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky pledged in an Independence Day address that his country would fight Russia's invasion until the end and would not make any concession or compromise. Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko congratulated Ukraine on its Independence Day, saying today's contradictions should not destroy long-term neighborly ties. Belarus is one of the strongest allies of Russia. Pope Francis and the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, who backs the war in Ukraine, will not meet when they attend a gathering of religious leaders in Kazakhstan next month. The RIA news agency has cited a senior Orthodox official as saying. Economy. The United States has announced nearly $3 billion in new military aid to Ukraine, with President Joe Biden saying the assistance aims to help the country defend against Russia's invasion over the long term. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has promised a £54 million $63.5 million, military package which will include 200 drones and loitering munitions to support Ukraine after meeting with Zelensky in Kyiv. Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi has said the European Union countries should agree on a cap on the price of gas imported from Russia to help ease the burden of rising prices on businesses and households. The United Kingdom imported no fuel from Russia in June for the first time since records began 25 years ago, as sanctions on Moscow in response to its invasion of Ukraine helped drive a 97% fall in imports of Russian goods, official data has shown. As Russia's invasion enters the 7th month, new U.S. aid package signals a shift towards Ukraine's long-term needs. The United States has announced nearly $3 billion in new military aid to Ukraine, with President Joe Biden saying the assistance aims to help the country defend against Russia's invasion over the long term as the war entered its 7th month. In a statement on Wednesday, as Ukraine marked its independence from the Soviet Union, Biden said the $2.98 billion package would allow Kyiv to acquire air defense systems, artillery systems and munitions, counter-unmanned aerial systems, and radars. I know this Independence Day is bittersweet for many Ukrainians as thousands have been killed or wounded, millions have been displaced from their homes, and so many others have fallen victim to Russian atrocities and attacks, Biden said in the statement. But 6 months of relentless attacks have only strengthened Ukrainians' pride in themselves, in their country, and in their 31 years of independence. Al Jazeera's Kimberly Halkett, reporting from the White House, said the package marked a real shift in posture because the support will be used for buying and purchasing military equipment for the long term. But 6 months of relentless attacks have only strengthened Ukrainians' pride in themselves, in their country, and in their 31 years of independence. Halkett said. But now, what this is going to be is the utilizing of U.S. Department of Defense contracts to purchase for the long term. Wednesday's announcement comes just days after Washington announced an additional $775 million in military aid to Kyiv, with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken saying on Friday that the Biden administration was committed to helping Ukraine for as long as it takes. A senior U.S. defense official told reporters that the package will include surveillance drones, anti-tank missiles, as well as for the first time, mine-resistant vehicles. The conflict in Ukraine has entered a war of attrition, Melinda Herring, deputy director of the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center, told Al Jazeera on the completion of 6 months of the Russian invasion, with much of the focus now on the country's south and the fate of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Entered a war of attrition, Herring said. For months, Russia has warned the US and European nations against providing heavy weaponry to Ukraine. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and other government officials have urged their allies to send more assistance to help the country stave off Russian forces. In total, the U.S. has committed approximately $10.6 billion in security assistance to Ukraine since the beginning of the Biden administration in January 2021, the Reuters news agency reported.